Good day to everyone. I'm Daniel Valdez, and we will be discussing the case of Salas versus Jarencio, decided by the Supreme Court on August 30, 1972. So this case is important because it talks about the ownership of land in Manila, the authority of Congress over public land, and application of social justice under the Philippine law. So it also questioned the constitutionality of Republic Act number 4118, a law that transferred a piece of land to the land authority so it could be subdivided and sold to qualified occupants. So the members will be me, Daniel Galde, Jean Mayo, Rudilin Velarde, and Jasper Zambranos. So the first part of our discussion, we will explain what the case is about, the parties involved, the main issue brought before the Supreme Court. Right. So let's proceed to the slide two. So what is the case? What was actually the case all about? So the case started because of the dispute piece of land located in Manila. Congress passed Republic Act number 4118, which transferred the land to the land authority. The, the, the purpose of the purpose of the law was to divide the land into the smaller slots and sell them to actual occupants, especially landed citizens living there. So, the government believed that the law supported the principle of social justice by helping people who did not own the land. However, the city of Manila questioned the law. The city argued that the property already belonged to Manila, so Congress had no right to transfer it to another government agency. So the city also claimed that the law violated due process because no compensation was given for the land. So because of this conflict, the issue was brought to the court to determine whether the land truly belongs to the city of Manila or if Congress still had authority over it. So let's proceed to the next slide, the petitioners and respondents. So the petitioners in this case were Rafael S. Salas, Conrado F. Estrella, and Lorenzo Gela, or sorry if I was wrong, Gela. So the respondents were Hilarion U. Harencio, Antonio G. Villegas, and the city of Manila. So the disagreement between the parties focused on the ownership and control of the dispute land. So the city of Manila insisted that the land was city property, which meant Congress could not legally transfer it under the Republic Act number 4118. On the other hand, the petitioners argued that the land was still public land held in trust for the state. Because of this, Congress had the authority to regulate the property for the public welfare. So the Supreme Court then had to answer the three important questions. First, what whether the land was private property of the city of Manila. Second, whether the Republic Act number 4118 was constitutional. And third, whether the Congress had the power to transfer the land for the benefit of qualified occupants. So these questions became the main issue resolved by the Supreme Court in this case. So that will be all for my part. Thank you.
What is Republic Act number 4118? Republic Act number 4118 transferred the land to the land authority. It allowed the land to be divided and sold to the people living there. The goal of the law was to help poor and landless families own a land. Why was it questioned? The city of Manila said the land belonged to them. They argued that Congress could not take the land away without permission or payment. They believed their property rights were violated. The Supreme Court answered three main questions. What was the land private property of Manila? Was RA 4118 constitutional? Did Congress have the power to transfer the land? The law that they used, the court used these laws and principles in deciding the case. First is Republic Act No. 4118, Civil Code of the Philippines, 1935 Constitution, and Social Justice Principle. This helped the court decide if the law was valid.
Lower court decision. The lower court first decided that RA 4118 was unconstitutional because it believed that the law unfairly took land owned by the city of Manila. Manila already owned the property. Congress could not simply transfer it away. Taking property without proper authority, it violated the Constitution, so the lower court ruled against the law. Supreme Court review. This case was elevated to the Supreme Court, which had the final authority to interpret the Constitution. The Supreme Court studied three main issues, which is who really owned the land, who it really owned the city of Manila, and who is still property of the national government. Supreme Court ruling. The Supreme Court reversed the lower court's decision. It decided that RA 4118 is constitutional, means the law was valid and enforceable. The court disagreed with the lower court's view that Manila had absolute ownership of the land. Why the Supreme Court ruled this way? The Supreme Court explained that the land was not private property of the city of Manila. Manila only held the land in trust of the state. Because of this, Congress still had authority over the property in trust for the state, means that the city was only managing the land for public use, not owning it like a private owner. Social justice principle. The court also emphasized the principle of social justice found in the Constitution. The principle means the government should promote fairness in society. Laws may be passed to help disadvantaged people. The state may act for the welfare of the poor, landless, and marginalized. In this case, the court believed that the law supported public welfare and social justice objectives, so it upheld the constitutionality of RA 4118.
Importance of doctrine. Local government cannot claim full ownership or property held in trust for the state. It means that when a local government like City of Manila holds land or property, it does not own absolutely or permanently. Significance of the case. This case is important because it clarifies three key points in the Philippine law and governance. First, limit of local government ownership. Second, power over Congress. And lastly, importance of land reform. Context and purpose.
Let me explain the term social justice. Social justice refers to a political and philosophical theory that focuses on the concept of fairness in relations between individuals in society and equal access to wealth, opportunities, and social privileges. The concept of social justice first arose in the 19th century during the Industrial Revolution as attempts were made to promote more egalitarian societies and reduce the exploitation of certain marginalized groups due to the vast disparity between the rich and poor at the time. Social justice initially focused on issues such as the distribution of capital, property, and wealth due to the extreme levels of inequality and economic distress prevalent at the time, resulting from the European social class structure. Today, social justice has shifted towards a stronger emphasis on human rights, land rights, and improving the lives of disadvantaged and marginalized groups that have historically faced discrimination in society. Many of these groups have been discriminated against on the basis of factors such as sex, age, wealth, ethnicity, heritage, social status, religion, and others. Social justice often leads to efforts to redistribute wealth to some of the underprivileged.
What is Social justice in Philippines law. Social justice as defined in Philippines prejudice and constitutions means that promote of the welfare for all people, especially the poor and disadvantaged. It involves ensuring fair distribution of resources, opportunities, and rights, including access to land. Final decision. RA 4118 is valid. The Supreme Court ruled that Republic Act 4118, the law that authorized land distribution. Land distribution. Since the law is valid, the government has the right and power to proceed with dividing and awarding the land to intended beneficiaries, even the city of Manila. City of Manila lost the case. The city claims that it owned the land and could stop its distribution was rejected. The court said the city only held the land in trust, so it could not override national laws for public welfare.